So, there are 6 movies for me to divulge in this week's episode of the movie wrap-up. That's literally one movie a day, pretty much. Even though I have basically watched 3 movies in one day. Actually, it was 3 movies in one afternoon, so... But either way, though, when you kind of calculate it all down anyway, it's basically one movie a day that we're basically talking about in this episode of the movie wrap-up. And quite a lot of them, actually, let's say 3 of them. Yeah, actually, I mean, it kind of evens out. 3 of them are on streaming. The other 3 are currently out in cinemas at the time of filming this episode of the movie wrap-up. So, without further ado, let's just crack on, shall we? And let's just go through some of the films that I've watched this past week with this week's episode of the movie wrap-up. Let's take a look. You're watching Steve's Movie Wrap-Up, episode 22. The first movie we'll be reviewing in this episode is The First Omen. 4-star rating for The First Omen, which is currently out in cinemas. So with The First Omen, this was an amazing horror movie, and I am begging people, please go to your local movie theatre or cinema and give this one a watch, particularly if you are a horror movie fan. This film was beautifully shot. This film has a beautiful music composure, which feels so cinematic. The acting performances in this, I would say, are really decent as well. And I thought the pacing never once made the movie outstay its welcome during its 2-hour running time. The movie does feature some gore, and there are some moments in this movie which, even while doing this review, I'm getting flashbacks to certain scenes from this movie. Scenes that I think will stay in your mind for a while after watching this movie. I do think that the main character, called Maggie, and the character from Immaculate, Cecilia, could have been the best of friends. They're both final girl material, I feel. I really enjoyed this horror movie. I think, for me, though, the only problem I have is the fact that this movie released not long after the movie Immaculate, which starred Sydney Sweeney. And while some horror fans out there will now probably be comparing the 2 movies, something that I won't be doing because they're both great movies in their own unique way. But I do feel as though if they had have spaced this movie a little further away from the release of Immaculate, then I probably wouldn't have watched this movie at the beginning thinking I'm watching another version of Immaculate, because there was one scene in particular in the first act of the film which made me feel as though I was rewatching Immaculate all over again. Again, not diving into it. The gore scenes and the body horror in this was also really decent, and there was some creepy and eerie scenes in this to enjoy. I feel as though horror movies can only get better now in 2020 as 2024 continues, and this is up there as so far one of my favourite horror movies that 2024 has to offer. The funniest part about this as well is the fact that later in the year this movie will be released on Disney Plus globally, and most likely in the US on the recently added Hulu on Disney Plus for Disney Plus users in the US, as this movie was created by Disney's 20th Century Studios production company. So a rewatch on Disney Plus later this year is a possibility. And also as well, can I just very quickly say that earlier this week I did read that the actress that played Maggie, the main character in The First Omen, called Nell Tiger Free, she actually discussed what she would love to do next in the horror genre, like which iconic horror icon she would love to take on next. Her answer was Art the Clown from Terrifier. Now, obviously, Terrifier 3 is, I believe, currently still in production at the moment, maybe coming near to the end of its production, but maybe Damien Leone could maybe cast her for Terrifier 4. Who knows? Please, please, please. I mean, Terrifier 4 is supposedly the last Terrifier in the franchise, supposedly. Make it happen, Damien Leone. Make it happen. Monkey Man. Monkey Man, I gave 4 stars over on Letterboxd. This is the right poster, isn't it? Because I feel like this is the same poster as what we had with First Omen. It's the right yeah, this is the right poster, yeah? Yeah, it is the right poster, okay. It does say Monkey Man on it, yes it does, okay, that's fine. It says Monkey Man. Anyway, Monkey Man, I gave 4 stars over on Letterboxd. It's just bizarre that, you know, both posters almost look identical. But I gave this 4 stars on Letterboxd. Before I go into this review, I would just like to say Monkey Man, for me, has made me hit a milestone, as Monkey Man is the 50th movie that I have watched. 50 movies I have watched so far in the year 2024. Something I thought I would have achieved by mid-February, but here we are, April 2024, and I've watched 50 movies this year. Don't worry, there are plenty more movie reviews coming your way though, and there are, trust me, after this one's finished. Monkey Man was such an amazing movie. Dev Patel stars in this movie. Now, when Dev Patel comes to my mind, the first film I think of is Slumdog Millionaire, and I think it's the same with a lot of people that do know their actors and actresses and stuff. For me, definitely Dev Patel. First movie that comes to my mind is Slumdog Millionaire. He may have appeared in various other movies over the years, but those are likely to be films that I won't have watched or recognised. But Dev Patel stars in this film, and not only stars in this movie, but he also directs this movie. Monkey Man is Dev Patel's directorial debut, and I really hope after seeing this one that Dev Patel does more action movies, because after seeing this I would happily watch more action movies directed by Dev Patel. Not only does Dev Patel direct this movie, but Jordan Peele also produces this movie, and I do believe that Monkey Man does have a little backstory before it came to the big screen. It was originally killed off by Netflix, but it was only due to the fact that producer Jordan Peele had seen this movie for himself. He decided to become a producer, jump on board and become a producer for this movie, and therefore here we are. We all managed to see this movie, and even better, rather than watching it on a streaming service, we managed to see it on the big screen, which I do believe is where it actually deserves to be first before it goes to streaming, regardless whether it's digital release or on a specific streaming service. I will be honest though, while this is John Wick but more set in India with some Indian culture to go with it, I will be honest, the action sequences, while they were decent scenes, I just wish that they had less of the whole shaky cam action going on, so that we can see more of the action and the gore as well. But nevertheless though, this movie did pack full of punches, no pun intended, or was that intentional? There was some moments in this movie which I did laugh at, particularly some of the dialogue as well, which I thought was really funny. I will be honest though, I did have one problem with this film. The action sequences were brilliant, the visuals in this were stunning, by the way, and also the shots in this were brilliant as well, including some of the shots that we see of India at night, how colourful it is at night. It's really brilliant, but the problem that I had with this movie though was when the action sequences weren't going on. The movie did slow it down a little bit, and there was a few moments, not often though, when I did feel a tad bored, but it wasn't for too long though, and because the action scenes did pick back up again. Now, will this be a movie that will stick with me for a while? Yeah, it will be. Is this a movie that I would happily watch again? It definitely will be. And this will be likely one movie which I will get on digital when it releases later this year as well. That's if it's not available on a specific streaming service first, like Netflix or Amazon Prime Video as part of your subscription or whatnot. I will say that before this movie came on the big screen, there there was another trailer that I saw, which again looks a little similar to Monkey Man. I believe the movie is called Kill or The Kill, one of the two titles, which again is an Indian action movie, which is releasing later this year in cinemas, which I think I may go and see myself later in the year, because again, the trailer did intrigue me to go and watch it. Baghead. So Baghead, I gave 2 stars over on Letterboxd this week. Baghead, more like, and I'm sorry to say this, bag of shits. I wish I had a bag over my head while watching this film. 2 reviews that stood out for me when I read other Letterboxd users' reviews for this movie, and can't say I can't agree anymore. There was other users who said this was basically Talk to Me but worse, and again I agree with those users as well. When I first watched this about 20 minutes into the movie, there's a character called Neil, who wants the chance to say goodbye to his wife who died in a car accident, and as soon as he said this, I was kind of thinking to myself, isn't this a similar plot to the movie Talk to Me, but just more lower budget? Also, there was another problem that I had with this movie. The movie is supposedly set in Berlin. Not that I've ever travelled or been to Berlin before, but this didn't feel like the movie was set in Berlin. This feels like this was shot and set in the UK more than anything else. Also didn't help the fact it was also in a pub. Like, the main premise was in a pub. But also, it didn't help the fact as well that that pretty much all the actors in this had British accents too. So it wasn't at all convincing that the movie was set in Berlin. However, though, I'll give this movie some credit for its 2-star rating on Letterboxd, and that is that the acting seemed to be average from all the people involved in this movie. Some of the effects were rather decent, although the one character that gets burned alive, that didn't really seem rather convincing, to be honest. And I will say that the music composure was pretty good, and I like the sound design too. All in all, it's safe to say that this movie did have the potential to be a good horror movie, but it failed on some levels, and as mentioned, this just feels like a rip-off version of the movie Talk to Me, which I believe came out early last year. Lisa Frankenstein. So I watched Lisa Frankenstein at long last. I've been wanting to watch this movie for quite a few weeks now, but I gave this 3.5 stars over on Letterboxd. So I feel as though this one is going to be a cult classic in years to come. I am a bit late to the party in regards to reviewing this, but I have finally got around to watching and reviewing Lisa Frankenstein, which got released in cinemas earlier this year. The movie is directed by Zelda Williams, the daughter of the late great actor that is Robin Williams, and this is also her directorial debut as well, and I must say that I had a lot of fun with this one. The movie stars Catherine Newton, known for her previous work in the movie Freaky that came out back in 2020, and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and the movie also stars Cole Sprouse, who I know as one half of the Sprouse twins from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, or The Sweet Life on Deck, that broadcasted on Disney Channel when I was a kid. Anyways, I thought both of these performances in this was great. I really enjoyed the vibe that I got from this, which was just really high camp, and it had like 80s aesthetic vibes, which I really did enjoy. The hairstyles, the clothing, the music or soundtrack, as an audience member watching this, you would really get that 80s aesthetic watching this movie, and it's just damn right a lot of fun to watch. It's a shame that I did miss this one when it came out in cinemas earlier this year, but I am glad that I have managed to give this one a watch now though. And also, not only that, but a few people have told me to check this one out for myself because they thought it was a decent movie, and I do definitely agree with them. This one was a fun time to watch. There is one unfortunate thing about this movie though. Catherine Newton plays a character who is called Lisa Swallows, and I feel bad that she has that as a name. Oh dear. And also as well, speaking of Catherine Newton very quickly as well, actually, I'm just wondering if I can just bring up an image very quickly of her character Lisa Swallows in the movie, because there is actually a scene where she's going into high school and she's dressed all gothic. I don't know why, but there is something about this image which kind of makes me think of a specific music artist that's been on the scene, I think probably for the last year or so. I believe she's an American singer actually, and she's recently brought out an album, a debut album actually. It came out back in September 2023 called Chappelle Roan. Let's bring up an image of Chappelle Roan, shall we, very quick, because I don't know why. There is just something about you know, the way how Lisa Swallows dresses kind of gives off the same kind of vibes that Chappelle Roan dresses. I don't know. You know, if Chappelle Roan was in that film, I mean, I don't think it would have made much difference. Really don't think it would have done. But anyway, was it a decent film though? I enjoyed it. Yes, it was a fun time. Really did enjoy it. And it's safe to say that I would happily rewatch that film again, Lisa Frankenstein. And you know what, right? I have not actually answered this question yet. Would I probably get this movie on digital? Well, yes, I would. Now, given the fact that this movie came out back in February earlier this year, I think it came out around about Valentine's Day earlier this year, there is no current digital release date or like digital listing for this movie yet, which is a little bit disappointing. So who knows? It could be coming to streaming services later this year, maybe Netflix or Amazon Prime as part of your subscription. Or it might be coming to digital later this year to buy and rent, who knows, but that will definitely be a film that I will definitely buy to keep later this year when it does eventually get its digital release. Next Goal Wins. Next Goal Wins, I gave 2.5 stars over on Letterboxd. I'm not a huge sports fan, so when it comes to these kind of movies, they aren't the kind of movie that I would so much rush to go and watch. Next Goal Wins did have a cinema run on the back end of 2023, and as mentioned, due to me not being too much of a sports fan, I thought this would be a movie that I would enjoy as such, especially watching it in the cinema, and therefore decided to hold off seeing this until it was released on streaming. The movie recently was released on Disney Plus worldwide, so therefore I was able to have the chance to give this a watch. The movie is directed by Taika Waititi, known for directing movies like Jojo Rabbit and some of the Thor movies for the MCU. So did I enjoy this one? Well, I did think there was some interesting elements to this movie, which I will delve into in this review. So firstly, the fact that this movie was inspired by true events was an interesting concept behind the movie. And now, while this movie has the genre of it being a drama, and it does feel like a drama watching this, but it does also have the comedy elements, which Taika Waititi is normally known for. He's known for directing comedy movies and adding comedy into the script. Now, not all the comedy elements in this movie sadly land for me, but there is some dialogue in this which I did find funny. There is also the acting in this. I will say that the characters in this are rather likeable. However, though, I know this is inspired by true events, and some things they do have to change story-wise, and even Taika admitted this at the beginning of the film when narrating this story. But Michael Fassbender stars in this movie as a coach. Now, don't get me wrong, here I think he does play a very good coach here, but sometimes he can come across as, shall we say, a bit of an arsehole, particularly to one of the players who is openly non-binary and transgender too, called Jaya. There's one scene in particular where we see the coach, played by Fassbender, called Jaya by their former name, originally called Johnny. Now, Jaya didn't take this too nicely, understandably, and pushed the coach down to the ground when they told the coach to say their name is Johnny again, which he did. I will be honest though, I did love the character development that we do see throughout the movie of Jaya. Watching that character grow was a really good storytelling point in this movie, but the fact that in reality the coach, who is called Thomas Ronjan, isn't extremely transphobic in real life compared to the movie. Not once was he ever accused of being transphobic, so it's very bizarre that they made the character transphobic in this movie, but nevertheless though, they did have to change some things about the story that the movie was inspired by, and I guess one of those changes was make the coach to be a douche and be transphobic towards one of the players. However, though, what I will say is the transphobia isn't there for long, though, because we do see Coach Thomas and Jaya have some sort of bond together, and the coach does apologise to Jaya for his actions towards them and how he treated them as well on the pitch, which was nice to see. So I guess you can say that the coach was able to redeem himself in this movie despite the actions earlier on in the film. I will say though, despite all the charm that this movie does give to its audience, there are some moments or plot points in this movie that don't really have much development, and at times it does feel a little rushed. Maybe if it had an extra half an hour, then maybe we could have had more development in certain areas of the film and story. But nevertheless, though, as I said at the beginning of this movie review, as someone who isn't a huge sports fan and doesn't really care much for football or movies based on football, I did somewhat enjoy this movie. So Next Goal Wins, if you're wondering where to watch it, it is available to stream on Disney Plus globally. Civil War. And the final movie that I have watched this week is Civil War. So there are some certain aspects that I like about Civil War. By the way, I did give it 3 stars over on Letterboxd. And there are some certain aspects that I didn't like about Civil War, which I will delve into in this review. So the certain aspects that I liked about Civil War is the fact that, firstly, this movie was directed by Alex Garland, and it's supposedly his final movie that he's directing, because I believe he said in an interview recently that he's done with filmmaking now. It's kind of weird because I do feel like he is actually directing the 28 Years Later movie that's based on 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later that came out back in the early 2000s. So I don't know whether once he's done directing 28 Years Later, whether he'll be done with filmmaking at that point or he's going to continue on. I guess we'll just wait and see. But that is what I have read recently anyway in an interview that he did. I can't remember with who it was with, but I do remember reading it though. So, but yeah, so he has said that he is done with filmmaking, which makes me wonder what he will go on to do next. Will he remain in this film industry and do something in a more smaller role or smaller capacity, or will he have a complete career change? We will wait and see on that one. But the movie also stars the likes of Kirsten Dunst. I believe I've only seen her in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, playing Peter Parker's girlfriend, and that's it. She may have done other roles since, but that's all I know her for mostly, and probably how a lot of people will know her if they've seen the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies in the early 2000s. The movie also stars the likes of Katie Spaney, who is, by the way, later this year starring in the movie Alien Romulus, which I'm looking forward to. Wagner Mora also stars in this movie, alongside Stephen McKinley Henderson, who I've seen in the movies Dune Part 1 and Beau is Afraid. And Nick Offerman plays the President of the United States in this movie. Jesse Plemons also plays a minor role in this movie as well. Now, I do want to say that the certain aspects that I liked about this movie is the fact that there's no kind of politicalness to go with the movie. The messaging isn't about whether this is about the left or right leaning, which I really like about the movie. It kind of keeps that out of this movie. However, though, when you go on the internet does kind of say what the war is about. All we really know is that there's a civil war happening in America. This is also one of the most expensive movies that A24 has done. A24, by the way, are an independent movie studio, but you can definitely tell that this is the most expensive movie that they have created, with all the shots, all the explosions that they did. You can really tell where the budget mainly went in this movie. The movie itself, I thought, was really well shot and really well acted as well. Kirsten Dunst and Kaylee Spaney were the standout performers in this, and even Jesse Plemons in the small role that he played in this movie, I thought he was pretty decent as well. And that scene that he was in actually was rather intense as well. And if you've seen that movie for yourself, then you'll completely understand what I'm talking about. If you haven't yet seen the movie for yourself, then definitely go check it out, because literally that scene that Jesse Plemons is in, even though it's about 5 minutes that he's in it, but I mean, that is probably the most intense part of the film. I will say, though, that the story itself was rather decent. We follow these journalists between New York to Washington, and they seem to do pit stops every now and then in certain areas of New York during their travels. We see all these bodies, and we see some of the people and how they are coping with the civil war that's going on around them. Some of them pretend that the war isn't even happening around them and are still going about their daily lives. But I did like the way how the story was told, which was great. Now, at the beginning of this review, I did say that there was certain aspects to this movie that I didn't enjoy. Firstly, I felt as though this movie was too short, and it could have been a little bit longer so that we could see more of the story unfold. We can see more of the characters develop. Not that they were well developed in the movie enough, because they were, but I just feel as though it needed more depth to each character. And even the ending, while it is emotional and sad with a particular character, which I won't delve into because of spoilers, but it literally ends after a heartbreaking moment, and it just feels as though they just ended the story there because they had just run out of film, or they just run out of budget. There was some editing in this movie that at times felt a little out of place, and while I thought the pacing seemed to be fine for the movie running time, but sometimes it just felt like the characters were in a certain situation, then boom, back in the press car, driving along, continuing with their journey to Washington. Let me talk about Katie Spaney, because firstly, her character, who was called Jessie, was said to be a 23-year-old. Now, to me, when I looked at the character, she didn't seem like she was a 23-year-old. She seemed like she was, I don't know, 16, but the actress herself is around 25 years old, so at the time of filming this, she probably would have been around 23 or 24 years old. But nevertheless, though, I did love her character. I thought the actress that played her was great in the role as well. So if you do want to check Civil War out for yourself, not to be confused with Captain America Civil War, the Marvel movie that came out God knows how many years ago now. I'm talking about Civil War, A24, directed by Alex Garland. If you do want to see that movie, the movie is now playing in theatres and in cinemas worldwide. I really have no idea how long this episode of the movie wrap-up really is, but I can tell you now, they are some pretty damn long reviews. But I've had so much to talk about in each movie, I feel. So, you know, it's kind of a good thing, really, that, you know, I've kind of delved into it. But anyway, that is all for today's episode of the movie wrap-up. I want to say a massive thank you to all of you for watching this week's episode. If you have enjoyed it, then please, as always, feel free to hit that like button. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below and just let me know what movies you guys have been watching this week, whether it's old, new, cinema, streaming, hey, maybe even a classic Blu-ray, VHS, or even a DVD. You know, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you like what you see here and you want to see more of me, then feel free to hit that subscribe button down below to become a Stevo. Now, very quickly, I have got a movie wrap-up episode coming up next week for you guys. So feel free to check that out then. That'll be coming out on Sunday at 4 PM UK time. So feel free to check it out then. But I can also confirm that this week coming up, I am going to be back filming my weekly vlogs. They are coming back for you guys. Okay, so I just very quickly want to confirm with you that my next weekly vlog is going to be coming up on the 22nd of April 2024 at 4 PM UK time. So 21st of April 2024, 4 PM UK time is my next episode of the movie wrap up, and then the 22nd of April 2024, 4 PM UK time is my next episode of the weekly vlog. Got so much to talk about and so much coming up in that episode. Really look forward to getting back and filming it. Right, anyway, but from me for now though, it's goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys again in my next movie wrap up.